It's a Motherfucking Pleasure starts off with a non-disabled online famous influencer ostensibly doing what some would call, she crips up or blind face. She pretends to be blind for a day. Now, the online community reacts terribly to this and starts bombarding her with like abuse, and they're trying to get her ostensibly cancelled. The talent agency shit themselves because they realize this is going to be a PR nightmare. And to cauterize this PR wound, they decide to get the diversity hire blind talent manager to then find a blind influencer who they can then promote and make him seem like pretty much reframe and rebrand the entire notion of disability. And it starts off with simple things like, oh, we can get brand deals for canes, or like we can get queer canes, and then we can move that then into like, I don't know, Blind Island, all these TV shows, and then we can sort of turn it into when they both get so crazed by their hunger for power and rebranding that they basically take advantage of political situations for their own selfish gain, like maybe convincing the rest of the world to maim themselves because blindness is cool and that's the thing that's in now.
This sort of came from noticing that marginalized groups often have parts of their identity absorbed by mainstream culture. So for example, you've got fashion that starts out in the drag scene, often makes its way into mainstream culture. You see this with food, you see this with music. Loads of different marginalised groups have part of their identity taken on mainstream culture, apart from disability. Disability's not been made sexy yet, so the show examines what that would look like.
Identity is becoming owned in a way that is creating like pride for so many people, so many groups. There's so many people coming out and being proud of who they are. But also there's a flip side of that, where parts of identity and culture are being commodified and are being made marketable.
We often see disabled stories being told that are very autobiographical, that are very rooted in trauma, whereas we wanted to tell a character-driven story that's funny, that an audience can really engage in. And we also really just like the idea of lulling the audience into a false sense of security, where they're forced to look back at what they've been laughing at throughout the entirety of the show.
And so we're looking at ways so that we can use a level of clowning and comedy and these big kind of like huge personalities and characters that we've created that are like flawed and grotesque, to create something that is hilarious at the off, and then the more you follow on and laugh with them, the more you realise there is actually so much underneath the surface. It's bubbling away and it becomes quite dark.
A big thing for us is integrated access and creative access, and often you'll find that access is sort of not necessarily an afterthought, but if you get any director to listen to the audio description for their show, I guarantee you they'll be like, what the hell is this? This is absolutely garbage. So for us, it's about integrating that into our practice, and also integrating things like creative captioning. Like an example of how we do that is, like if you imagine this really grotesque corporate talent manager who's just gotten drunk of his own power, screaming at his PA while he's in the middle of this diatribe monologue about how the markets work. And every time he just stops to go, can you tweet that? Because he's just so arrogant, she has to type that up. So it's like his tweets will appear on the thing as part of the creative captioning.